I had a joke to start this video, and I can't remember it. What's the deal with airline food? Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host today, Gaming Legion. You can call me Legion, you can call me Jacob, whichever you prefer. Welcome back. Yes, I'm making another Nintendo Switch 2 video before the damn console even comes out. Am I milking it? Probably. But this is something I really wanted to talk about because there has been so much controversy and so many things in just over a month since the Direct came out. As of recording, we are about 20 days away from getting the Nintendo Switch 2 officially dropped. I get to go pick up my pre-order. I get to do my first midnight release of anything, so I'm very excited for that. But there's been a lot of problems so far, and the console hasn't even come out. There's been a lot of controversy. Some I think is kind of stupid, some is very justifiable and understandable. So I kind of want to make a quick compilation of, at the very least, the biggest ones, or at least the ones I can remember, which me saying ones I can remember, there's still a shitload of them here. So I will be going over all of them, giving my takes on them and how I think about them, because everybody's been asking me for my opinions. I walked down the street and I got a homeless guy saying, "Hey, you're that guy who just got like 70 subscribers. What do you think about all of these?" And I say, "Well, sir, take a seat. Here's $100. Let me tell you my tales." So we are going to be going through a lot of these controversies. We are going to be starting with the stuff that I agree with / side with. And that's what, like, the stuff that all the consumers are like, why the fuck are you doing this? I'm agreeing with the consumers here. The next section is going to be debatable stuff. Ones that I'm like, I'm kind of in the middle on. Ones that I'm like, I can understand both sides. I'm kind of leaning towards this side, but this side does also make sense. We've got misinformation because there's a fuckload of misinformation. And then we've got stuff that I don't even know why it's a controversy, or stuff that really should not be a controversy. Now, some of the arguments here are going to be, well, they did it first. Well, they did it first. Those motherfuckers did it. You see that? You see this motherfucker? He did it first. This little bitch did it second. That is going to be a few of the arguments here. And some of the arguments are going to be those because it's called an industry standard. And while, yes, I think it is worse that Nintendo is going towards an industry standard that does not help consumers, I still think calling them the devil and blaming them on everything because they're going towards an industry standard is a little much. Like, you want to say you don't like Nintendo because they're doing that? Sure. Saying we should boycott the whole Switch 2 because they're going towards an industry standard? That's a little stupid to me. I'm gonna be honest, that sounds a little stupid to me.
And, like, if you're gonna be mad consistently. Like, don't just, like, blame Nintendo and then be like, but it's okay when PlayStation and Xbox do it. You know what we call those? Double fucking standards. And I, for one, will not have that. I will not stand for that. No, but actually, if you're gonna be mad at Nintendo, you gotta be mad at the other guys when they do it.
So without further ado, let's get into it. First of all, the stuff that I agree with and I side with, I'm siding with the consumers on this. This is stuff that, why the fuck are you doing this? Game prices at $80. Let's start off with a home dinger right here. Why the fuck are games $80? Now, to be fair, this is only Mario Kart World. We're not looking at upgrade packs. Those are going to come later. But Mario Kart World is the only $80 game. So at the very least for right now, we can say it is contained, I guess. Although Microsoft is also now saying that their first party games are going to go up to $80. So, fuck. Thanks, Nintendo. Thank you. Yeah, I do not agree with an $80 price tag on really any game with the exception of GTA 6. I would even be fine with it being $100 if I'm being honest. The only reason I say that is because, one, well, I guess that's not the only reason now, is it? Well, the first reason is because this is a $2 billion development. It is quite literally the highest budget for a video game and even movies. So understandably, I would put it at that. And while I am somebody that says I much prefer a better art style over more realistic graphics, GTA 6 has got some pretty fucking realistic graphics. And that takes time, buddy. That takes time and processing power and optimization. And while I have another video wanting to go over GTA 6 and the 30 FPS, oh, the devil. But what we know about how the game looks, the back end on the development and all that, the budget into it, as well as just the game and the hype around GTA 6, I can understand it being up to $100 base. Mario Kart? Like, don't get me wrong, I love Mario Kart. I love Mario Kart. I played Wii, I played DS, I played Mario Kart 8 over at my friends sometimes. I play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe every once in a while. But $80? really? Like, the only reason I can see this being $80 and not $70 is because it is Mario Kart. It has Mario attached to it, and maybe it just doesn't have the value to me that it does to, I guess, Nintendo. I mean, Mario is their literal flagship mascot. So the only reason I even see it being $80 is in part because of that name brand. The same way designer brands are all more expensive, even though they are literally made of the exact same material in the exact same way in the exact same fucking shops as some of the like stuff that's a tenth of the price. It's like the $80, I believe, is the name brand of Mario. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't agree with it. And that's probably just me not valuing Mario as much as Nintendo thinks I do. But no. And of course, like I said with Microsoft earlier, there is the domino effect of it affecting everybody else in the industry. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't looked this up recently and I don't feel like looking it up right now, but I do believe part of the reason Xbox moved up to $80 was because of the tariffs. That's also why they increased their console prices and accessories, but that might only just be part of the problem. It might not be the entire part. This is probably also a good part of why they went to $80. Either way, $80, not fucking happening for me. Do not like it. But I got the bundle for the Switch too, so $50 get Second up, GameStop forcing people to buy bundles of the Nintendo Switch 2, and not the Mario Kart bundle, because people were already buying the fuck out of that. I'm talking about like bundles of other accessories going up into the $900 range. Yeah, for anybody that doesn't remember, what was that, 3 weeks ago, I think it was, April 24th, when it started going live for pre-orders in the United States. One specific Astoria, Queens, New York GameStop was actually forcing people to buy the bundles of them with like $900 worth of accessories, or $400. It was $900 total. And that was just one of the bundles. I think there was some cheaper, some more expensive, but they were forcing you to buy a bunch of accessories along with the Switch. And from what I read, the entire reason they said that this was the issue, or why they were making people do this, was because they could not scan the SKU or the SKU numbers on the Switches. So the only way that they could get this stuff to work and actually get pre-orders done was through these. And I'm pretty sure you also had to have a GameStop Pro membership to do this. What are you talking about? I genuinely think if you were having a problem with like scanning the SKU numbers, you had a bigger problem. I would have found any other way to get around that, because that is intentionally screwing people, like almost deceivingly so. Now, I did not have to go to Astoria, Queens, so this does not affect me, thankfully. I hope anybody that did have to deal with that got some of their fucking money back if they did not want those accessories. I would have said do like an IOU system. Literally just do that, write down your name, your phone number, maybe your driver's license number or something, to like present an ID, something like that. And then like on a sticky note, just be like, okay, here's your name, your number, identification number or something, and everything you wanted to get. We will give you a call when this gets fixed, and we will get this sorted out, or we'll call you to come back down, and then just check it off analog. I think this is something that, as long as they had the numbers for everything, which I know they did, my store at least had a literal sheet of all of their inventory, you could have done this analog. There was no need to do this fully digital. Of course it would help, and it was probably better, but if the digital's fucking up, go to analog. Just go to analog. Next up here, the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour being $10. If you hear anybody saying, oh, Jacob over here, Gaming Legion, he defends the Welcome Tour. Why the fuck would I defend a user manual being $10 fucking dollars? Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Dude, the fact that it's like worse than Wii Sports, like it looks worse than Wii Sports. Not graphics, obviously. Graphically, it looks better than the Wii Sports. But like content-wise, you're just telling me about the fucking Nintendo Switch 2 that I'll probably see in the user's manual and the help sections for all of this. You're probably going to have some on-screen guides going on some of this during initialization when I'm first booting up the console. And like, cool, you have some tech demos and stuff. Again, that's worse than you had in Wii Sports, where those were tech demos, but they were actual fucking games. Like, you could even play with a friend with those. These are all single player games, and they're kind of really shitty, like 1-minute tech demos, like the golf. Yeah, cool. Like, cool. You're showing off the mouse mode and the gyro and the accelerometer. I do like that. Don't get me wrong, but it's like a minute of golf. You sink one hole. You couldn't do something like Wii Sports where you make it a golf competition where you have to use either the gyro or the mouse or something, lock it into one, let you choose. You couldn't have done that. You wanted to show off the HD rumbles, so you did some maracas. You couldn't have done anything else. And not even could you do anything else. Like, if you wanted to keep that, sure, that's fine. You want me to do that for $10? For $10? What? What? I'm sorry. Wii Sports gave more content for free. Astrobot gave like a 5-6 hour experience for free. And like, I know it came out that Nintendo's whole thing is, hey, we made a game. We want you to pay for the game. I'm pretty sure it was even Reggie, who was the previous Nintendo of America president or CEO or something. He had to convince them, hey, put Wii Sports in there for free. So like, I know it's a kind of a company thing, hey, of Nintendo, like, we made it, you're gonna pay for it. But you can't see any comparisons, any patterns when you had the Wii with Wii Sports that did absolute gangbusters and fucking numbers out the ass. You don't want to see a pattern there and think, that might have been a reason. Sure, it wasn't the whole reason. The Wii was like a very just family-friendly console. I mean, my grandparents had one, my uncle had one, we had one, my cousins had one, everybody had a fucking Wii. And sure, Wii Sports might not have been the only reason people got it, but I'd say it's definitely not a bad reason. It wasn't a negative into why people got it. But I can tell you right now, the only people who are going to be getting the Welcome Tour are parents who think that their kid needs it, and just other content creators wanting to go through the Welcome Tour to see any little information that they can, or doing a review on it. I will not be one of those. I'd rather keep my $10, go to a retro store and buy an old Wii game or something like that. Like, I'll keep that 10, thank you. Next up here, the C button being a glorified ad button if you do not have Nintendo Switch Online. What the fuck? Now, I will say, this doesn't affect me personally as much because I already pay for Nintendo Switch Online. I have the expansion pack, so I already pay the $50 a year for it. So me personally, this does not affect me. But the thought that in the future, maybe I'll just cancel my NSO subscription because I'm not really playing the Switch too much. I'm not using NSO functionality. I might just cancel it. The button on the controller being a glorified ad. What the fuck? For anybody that has been lying under a fucking rock, the C button on the new Joy-Con 2s are going to be your game chat, your game share button. This will allow you to obviously use GameChat and be able to talk with people, share your screen to them so they can see all that stuff. But you will need an NSO subscription for that. I believe you can get the minimum one of, I think it's like $3 a month or $20 for the year. You can get that. Otherwise, if you click on that button and you don't have an NSO subscription, it's just going to pop up the NSO like plan page and say, hey, you want to get NSO? What the fuck, dude? Like, if you're going to put a new button on a controller, it's got to be a button that is going to be actively used, like, frequently. I would even say the button didn't need to be a game chat button. I mean, you could literally go off PlayStation and fucking Xbox, just have it in like a menu thing. You can literally click and hold the home button on the Joy-Con and it'll pull up a side menu. Just put game chat in there instead of putting a button on there that is technically an ad button if you don't have NSO. Like, that's fucking stupid. Again, it does not affect me personally, so I'm not super up in arms about it as much as some other people are, but I totally understand, and I think they are justified in that up in anger, up in arms and everything. Next up here is seemingly no themes. They haven't showed any off. Every like promotional piece, any of these like little like videos that they've been putting on the Nintendo Today app have just been in light mode. They have not even showed off dark mode, which I assume dark mode is going to be on there. It was on the Switch 1. If for some reason there's not even a dark mode on the Switch 2. But you can't even do the common courtesy of just let us pick a static color. Give us 8 colors outside of black and white to pick from. Give us like, literally just give us Roy G. Biv. You can't even just give us Roy G. Biv and give us a static color. At the very least, I would like my Switch to be red. Not even, it doesn't have to be a Mario red. It can be a Ruby red. It can be a Blood red. It can be a light fucking pink for all I care. Give us Roy G. Biv themes at the absolute least. Or, since it seems like you're still going to be sticking with the gold and silver coins, give us a way to buy themes with those silver coins. Like, I would actually do that. That would give me a reason to, like, do these little challenges and stuff that they had for NSO or whatever to buy these themes. Right now, you can only buy, I think, icons and borders for your Nintendo Switch Online, like, icon. I don't care enough about that. But you tell me I do a few challenges and I have to do, like, maybe 5 challenges, get enough silver coins so I can get a theme. Okay, I'm sold. I'm sold. And next up, no eShop music from what we've seen. They did do a little promotional video talking about the updated eShop and how it's a lot more smoother. It's not as janky as before, new sections, but there was no music there. So it is believed that there is still going to be no eShop music, which I think is a huge detriment. Because, well, like, obviously, I'm not sitting in the eShop for, like, hours on end being like, oh, what do I want this game? I don't know about that. Do I want this game? Clearly, I also don't spend much time in the eShop. I spend it in a real fucking store. But even just a little bit of music for like the maybe minute or two that I am in the eShop, it's just a nice, refreshing thing. It's just very nice. And there has been people talking about, well, the reason they probably don't do music is because when you click on a game, it looks like it starts playing like the little trailer right away. So it would be a little jarring to go and click between games and having the music cut in and out. So if that's the reason, I guess I can understand, but no eShop music at all. It's just not nice to hear. Next up here is the debatable section. Again, this is a section of stuff that I'm kind of on the fence with it. I'm like, I'm leaning one way. I'm like 1 foot over into this territory, but you could probably pull me back with enough evidence and good arguing. Like I don't have a reason to stay on this side. I could easily be pulled to this side. Okay, maybe not easily, but I wouldn't be opposed to going to that side. First up here is the Nintendo Switch 2's console price being at a base of $450. Holy fuck. Dollars. And I'm okay with the price at $450. I'm gonna be honest, and this is why I say I can kind of be swayed. I was assuming this was going to be $400. Like, I saw $450 and I'm like, eh. But to be fair, they introduced more stuff than I thought was going to be in there. I didn't think there was going to be a game chat. I did not think we were getting that. I didn't think we were going to be getting download play back from the DS. I didn't think we would be getting that back. I honestly didn't even think we were getting 4K. In docked. I genuinely thought we were getting 2K. I did not think 4K was on the table. I didn't think there was going to be a fan in the dock. I didn't even think the console storage was going to be like half of what it actually was. I didn't think it was going to be 256. I didn't think it was going to be 128. I thought it was going to be like 64. So when I hear 450 after hearing all that, it makes a little bit more sense. But I can still see some arguments for 400. I can still understand it. But after obviously more information, we're hearing how Nintendo is actually taking a loss on these consoles now. Like before, they sold the Switch for crazy fucking profit. Definitely correct me if my numbers are wrong, but I believe the Switch was only like $230 to actually like manufacture and build. So they were always at like a $70 profit on every Switch sold, which the profit on buying the console is not normal. Xbox and PlayStation, I believe with every console, have always sold it at a loss. How these companies actually make their money is through the game sales and these online services and stuff like that. That's where they make their real money. But Nintendo is able to do that on all of that on top of the console. I mean, hey, They played and they fucking won. But being at 450 and they're still taking a loss, I do think that if they did go to 400, especially after these tariffs, that's going to hurt them a lot more. So 450, again, I can understand. Although I did see some people saying $300 for this console, like even before this came out, just going based off the leaks and then seeing what we saw back in January, there was no way this console was going to be anywhere near 300. I think anybody who really thought this was going to be 300 was fucking smoking some new form of heroin. They were cracked out of their mind. There was no way. I thought being ultra hopeful and ultra hopium, this was going to be like $350. 300 was nowhere on the table. All right, next up here we have the Nintendo Switch 2 Upgrade Packs. And this one's also going to kind of fall under misinformation, but I have it under debatable because I don't agree with the practice of upgrade packs. I don't like that that's a thing. I understand from a business point. I don't like upgrade packs though, but it's under debatable here because there are a lot of people who are taking upgrade packs and misconstruing it like I said earlier in the video, Nintendo was doing this and they're the first fucking people to ever do this in their lifetime. No. I also see this as debatable because Nintendo doesn't drop their prices. They don't drop their prices on their current like generation of games. We probably won't even see OG Switch games drop in price for maybe another 10 years. We probably won't see it drop until the next Switch 3 or whatever they come after. So that is another reason why upgrade packs are kind of bitch. But the other companies have been doing this. We're not going to act like this is a brand new problem. And if I'm being honest, sure, I was not as much in the gaming space back in 2020 when these consoles first came out. I will admit that. But I don't remember people saying jack fucking shit about it when that came out. When the Series X and the PS5 came out, and as time went on, there are upgrade packs. There would be about a $10 upgrade from PS4 games to PS5, Xbox One to Series X games. If you wanted to take advantage of the new hardware, the better graphics, the better performance, you would need to pay $10. Again, an industry standard. I'm not a fan of it, but it's an industry standard now. It's just been there. It has been there since the beginning of fucking time of the PS5. Xbox has done this for a few games such as Call of Duty, Black Ops Cold War, and NBA 2K21. And Sony has done this for The Last of Us Part 2, God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man PS4 into Spider-Man Remastered, Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima. May I go on? Must I go fucking on? Like, this is just kind of been a thing with this new generation of consoles. If you want to access the newer, better graphics, you pay $10. Again, I think it's stupid as shit, but it is what it is right now. And as I said before, I don't think we should be demonizing Nintendo because they're going towards an industry standard. Next up here is the GameChat, more specifically the FPS thing with the screen share. Did you really think that you were going to be able to stream 1080p 60 from 4 sources and be completely lossless in handheld mode, especially when you're playing games like Mario Kart World, Breath of the Wild, or Tears of the Kingdom with the NS2 upgrade? Did you really think that was going to be going 1080p 120 frames for all 4 people? You're high as shit. Like, the amount of processing power for that, no. And like, if it's really a problem for you, think about it like this. You're not sitting there and watching it like a movie. Why would you sit there and watch your friend through screen share like a fucking movie for like so long? If I'm going to be watching my friend, it might be for maybe a minute, maybe 2 if they're trying to show me something cool. And even then, you need friends for that in the first place. I don't even know if you can clear that bar. And that kind of gets to the next point. How many of you were actually going to use this shit in the first place? Like GameChat, obviously. How many of you were going to use the screen share feature in the first place? Like Xbox and PlayStation, they don't have it. And how many PC players sit in a Discord and genuinely just watch their friends play games? Why? That sounds boring as shit. If you're actually doing that, that's sad. And well, yes, I do believe that if a company is going to put out a product, it should be in the best state that they could possibly get it into. This is one that's like, I would rather have it than not have it. It's like, if I don't have it, cool, but now that I have it, even in a bad state, it's still a plus. Because like, let's assume you do want to actually share up to 4 screens and do all that. What's the alternative here if you can't do that? You can make sure you have 4 people with an NS2 or a Nintendo Switch 2, you know, obviously. All 4 of you are going to need a
capture card.
And most of those, for like a decent one to run, is probably going to need like about $100. And you're also going to need a PC to do that, because a laptop is probably not going to cut it. Maybe a gaming laptop. I'm not too sure about that. But you're going to have to shell out some extra money for at least a good gaming laptop or a decently sized PC. So you could either have the kind of shitty 15 frames, but you can still watch up to all 4 people. And are you really going to be using it anyway? Or if you do want to use it, are you really going to shell out the $600, $700, maybe up to $1,000 to do that? No. That's what I thought. Next up here is the Nintendo Switch 2 Camera, and I think it's stupid, but it's kind of the same thing as the GameChat. It adds a little bit of something extra. Like, it is very similar to the Kinect, and that's kind of how I see this as well. It's like, you can get it if you want. It's a nice, cool little feature that adds on to some games. It has the game chat stuff so you can see each other. It's a nice, cool little thing, and they're not exactly forcing it on you. So if you really want to pay the, $50 for 1080p camera, which is kind of crazy in my opinion, but if you want it, you can get it. It adds a few cool new features. And at least from what they showed, the camera FPS is definitely not as bad as the screen sharing. The next section here is going to be all about misinformation, stuff that people are still saying and are just blatantly fucking wrong. They have done not a lick of fucking research, and the only thing they've done is either go on TikTok comments, Instagram comments, or they've listened to their favorite YouTuber who is also spamming the exact same misinformation. Or they're watching like months old videos now. Because I'm not going to lie, I have sprouted some misinformation. That was before we found some of this out. We're 20 days away. It's been about a month and a half since that direct. If you're still spouting this misinformation, Wrap it up, buddy. Wrap it up. The first point on here, that this console is still running on last-gen hardware, that is factually fucking false. Now, I can partially understand why people think this, and that is because it is not even technically running at last-gen specs, which again, it's not. That's going to be another thing coming up. But it is running on current-gen hardware. It's just that handheld current-gen hardware is only as good as last-gen console hardware. It is not as powerful as a regular console. It's not as powerful as a PC. Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why? And this also kind of goes into why the console is $450. Is because it's a fucking handheld. They have to take the parts and shrink them down into a smaller form factor. You can't have the PS5 fucking giant ass copper heatsink in a fucking Nintendo Switch. Or I mean, you could, but then it's also like an extra 5 pounds and it's going to be a lot fucking thicker than they got it. Like, to be able to shrink down the technology that they have in these consoles into such a small form factor, that in itself is outstanding. But the like understanding with that is that it's probably not going to be as powerful as the most current up-to-date gaming, which is another section later that I'm talking about. We are kind of up to standard now. Next up is the game prices at $90 and the physical versus digital game prices difference. Like I said earlier, I did make a video on this before. That was before the American website went out and actually disproved this. But now we have the information. People who are still saying that the games are $90 physically or just $90 base at all are fucking wrong. There are no $90 games unless you are including DLC. The only game that is $90, and I think where some of this came from, was the fact that if you take Breath of the Wild, a $60 game, you add the $10 Nintendo Switch 2 pack on, or you get the Nintendo Switch 2 version for $70. And then you throw the $20 of DLC that you really don't need, if I'm being honest. That comes out to $90. And it's the only game, at least to my current knowledge, that is going to be $90, and that's only if you get the upgrade and the DLC. But base prices for games are not $90. The highest base price we have is $80, and that is just Mario Kart World, nothing else. Everything else is $70 or lower. Ooh, thunder. Again, I don't like 80, we explained that earlier, but we're saying 90, which is just factually not true. Now, there was a whole debacle about the Physcial-Digital Split, and this came from a screenshot that came out slightly after the Direct of a Best Buy website page in the UK, where it showed for Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, there was going to be about a €10 difference between the physical and the digital editions. So for anybody who is saying, oh my god, where did this idea come from that there was going to be 90 physical, 80 digital, that's where it came from. And again, back then, I'm not faulting you. I fell for the same thing. We're 20 days away. We are a month and a half after this shit. You should know this now, at least before you start commenting random shit. There was even people back then that were like, you saw euro and thought that was going to be equal to dollar. And I'm like, I don't see that as a big stretch. Like, obviously, before the website came out, I don't think it was that big of a stretch to think that our brothers in arms, I mean, UK. But to think that the UK, who we are very close with in a lot of stuff, they're having a price difference. I don't see a reason why the US would not see that same price difference. I'm glad that we're not. I'm kind of sorry for the UK people, not, dying over there in their 60-degree heat, goddamn. But I see a difference over there. We're pretty close to UK in a lot of stuff. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't have had that. But again, thank God we do not have that difference. Nintendo, we can keep it this way. Just stick it to the Brits. All fine here with that. The next point here, all of the physical games will be on game key cards / not owning your games. I don't know how many people have to fucking say this. There is quite literally a diagram explaining game key cards. Not every game will be on a game key card, especially first-party Nintendo. So your Mario, your Zelda, your Donkey Kong, all of your first-party Nintendo games will not be on a game key card. At least for now. I will be fair, that could very well change in the future. But as far as Nintendo is saying right now, no game key cards for first party. This is only an option for third-party developers, and the reason they are doing this is so that they can cut down on having so many different sized game cards. It was a thing with the original Switch where they had like a 1 gigabyte, a 2, a 4, an 8, 64, not 64, sorry. It went up to 32 gigabytes of game cards. They had different ones, and it cost different amounts for each one. So if a developer only needed 4 gigabytes or something to actually throw their game on, they could use a 4 gigabyte card. Or I guess if you want to get more technical, they would need an 8 gigabyte, but numbers. Essentially, if they didn't need a 32 gigabyte card, they only needed maybe a 16 gigabyte, they could go for the 16 gigabyte and it would be a little bit cheaper. But that also had a lot of manufacturing problems with Nintendo. So they said, you know what, here's what we'll do. We'll cut it down so we'll only have like 1 or 2 game card sizes. We'll have a 64 game card size, or we're going to have the game key card. So a developer that only needs maybe 8 gigabytes can go for the 64 gigabyte card, which is probably going to be pretty expensive, or they could get a game key card, which will be a lot more inexpensive, but they have to digitally download it all. So it's a bit of a balancing act. Would you rather pay more for the game, but have it on your card? Or would you rather pay less, but you wouldn't get all the data on your card? And depending on who you ask, some people would say, hey, I want it cheaper. I don't care about like owning my game like that. I want it cheaper. But some people are like, I kind of care about that. I would rather pay an extra $5-10 to make sure that I can own my game. But here's the thing, the people I hear complaining about this the most and the loudest are people who don't even really play Nintendo all that much. It's people who have another console or have a PC, which means you're probably not playing third party on Nintendo anyway, that's how I have it. The only reason I have a Nintendo Switch is to play first party Nintendo games. So guess who this doesn't affect? Me and probably like 80% of adults. You know what? I'll scratch that. 90% of adults. Like, your main console is probably not your Nintendo Switch. You probably don't play a lot of third party on your Nintendo Switch when you can easily get it cheaper and it'll be better on a different console or on your PC. Like, the only reason I can see why you would get on the Switch is for that portability, but you also have PC handhelds, which I know I've kind of shit on PC handhelds in the past, but I am warming up to them a bit more now. But like a third party game like Cyberpunk, cool, that's going to be on there, and that will be on an actual game card. But how many people are really going to be buying Cyberpunk 2077 on a fucking Nintendo Switch for $70 when they can get it on a PS5 for $40, or they can get it on a PC for probably less? It's like the only reason I could see you wanting it on the Switch is portability, but even then, and I have shit on the Steam Deck, I still think the Steam Deck sucks. You can go get it on the Steam Deck and it'll be cheaper. So it's like the people that are complaining this doesn't even really affect, because you wouldn't even get the games that these game key cards would come on, or you wouldn't even get the games that use game key cards. That's how it works. I also hear this is a big outcry from people who buy digital games and use Steam. You know, the stuff where you do not own your games at all anyway. Like, yeah, if you have Steam, you don't own any of those games. There was even a California fucking law that just went into effect a few months ago that said, hey, you have to put on here when you go to buy, you are buying a license to the game. You're not buying the game. You do not own the game. So it's like a lot of the people that are complaining about owning your games don't even own most of their games. I just also kind of find that funny.
And I'm going to bring this up again. This is an industry standard. In fact, Nintendo already did this in the past. Most recent example of a game that does not have all the data on its disc or on its cartridge, Doom: The Dark Ages, that just came out last week. For PS5 discs, there is only about 85 megabytes of data on the disc. Xbox is about 328 according to Google. Do you want to know how big the game is? 85 gigabytes. Do you know how much 85 megabytes is to an 85 gigabyte game? About 0.1%, technically less than that, about 0.097 rounding percent of the data is on the disc. And that's just Doom: The Dark Ages. They've been doing this since, I believe, the PS3 era and the Xbox 360 era. Although, of course, with the PS4 and then now the PS5 and these generations, it's gotten a lot more, I guess, rampant, a lot more in use. And like I said before, Nintendo has already been doing this. Do you guys not remember on some of the game cases where it says at the bottom or at the top, it just says, internet download required, where they just give you a download code for the game. So in fact, game key cards are actually Nintendo, in a way, being more consumer friendly. Again, let's not take this out of context. I don't like the fact that they are game key cards at all. I don't like the fact that we don't get our games completely on the discs. I don't like that we're not technically fully owning our games. But like, compared to what Nintendo was doing before, with internet downloads now going to game key cards, they are technically being more consumer friendly. Although I guess in the same vein, you could also say because they're pushing game key cards more heavily, they're not really, so that I can't understand. I'll be fair there.
Next up here is Joy-Con 2 Drift. Nobody fucking knows if that's a thing. If you hear anybody saying, "Oh, this is gonna drift like a motherfucker," "Oh, this is gonna drift faster than a ship," no, the fuck it won't. Okay, I can't say that with full confidence. There's a good amount of reasons and signs leading to why this will not be able to drift like a fucking pirate ship. I've explained this many times before. But like drift was such a huge problem. They had a class action lawsuit that I did actually go up and research a little bit more. Ended up getting dropped, but they still had a class action lawsuit. That means lawyers had to deal with that shit. And I know Nintendo lawyers like to, you know, stay in the courtroom, but I think they would rather go with like Pal World, another stupid thing, by the way. Free upgrades, which I don't think a lot of people realized. You could send in your Joy-Cons and get them fixed for free. You did not actually have to buy new Joy-Cons. If you did, that's a little stupid. You could have gone to a repair shop to get them fixed, send them to Nintendo to get fixed. You quite literally could have gone on Amazon, bought a little toolkit like I did when I first got stick drift, and replace it yourself. It is not that hard. But because there were so many problems with drift, I think that was probably one of the first things Nintendo did when they redesigned this Joy-Con. They said, how do we get rid of this stick drift? They even said in the Ask the Developer how they completely reworked the joystick. It does not work the same way as it did before. At the very least, it is a different joystick. And I want to say this for probably the upteenth fucking time. For anybody that says and is really dogging on Nintendo because it does not have Hall effect, no, there are only 2 modern console/PC handhelds that have Hall effect. No Xbox, no PlayStation, no Nintendo has ever had Hall effect. There are only 2 PC handhelds that have Hall effect. The MSI Claws, which are about $1,000, by the way, and one that I apologize, I did learn and I was wrong before, the Lenovo Legion Go's. Those do also have Hall effect. I apologize, I did get those wrong before. And even if you want to say those are the only 2 and oh my god, nothing has Hall effect, then just replace it. You can replace the joysticks, by the way. Did you realize this? Remember earlier when I said that I bought a little kit to fix my fucking joysticks? You can do the same thing with Hall effect joysticks. Like, you can just buy some Hall effect joysticks. As long as they're the same size and they have the same connectors, it can go into your console or into your controllers. And there you go, you have Hall effect. But even then, while yes, Hall effect is definitely a lot more resistant to stick drift, it is not impervious. It is not impossible to get stick drift. Stick drift can occur with stuff like magnet alignment issues, which, thinking caps on, the Joy-Con 2s attach via magnet. I know there's probably a way where you can get the magnets to not actually affect each other like that, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past you. You slam it on there hard enough, I don't see a reason why the magnets wouldn't shift around a little bit. Next up is sensor degradation. Just because there isn't an actual like physical connection rubbing stuff together to degrade, the sensors can still degrade over time. There's also firmware bugs. Because it's magnetism here, firmware bugs have a lot higher of a possibility chance happening. This is actually something with the Lenovo Legion Go from some of my research after I found out, is that the dead zones on there are like terrible and shit. And next up is debris and damage. You know, the same thing as regular sticks. If you damage it, it's going to be fucked up. If you leave it alone for too long and dust gets in there, it's going to get fucked up. In fact, I would say stuff like dust is probably a bigger problem here because that can block the sensor. Like, Hall effect is not the end-all be-all. Is it a band-aid? Absolutely, but it's not the end-all be-all. And again, the DualSense, the Xbox controllers, the DualShocks, none of them have had Hall effect, and they work perfectly fine most of the time. They also get stick drift, sure, not as much as the original Switch, obviously. That was a problem. I would assume they fixed that with this console, and even if they didn't, we will not know for, I would say, at the least a month after the Switch releases, because you have to play with that for a while to actually figure that out. I'm gonna have a little hot take here. You know, before the Switch comes out, I feel like we're gonna see a month or two and people are gonna be like, oh, I already have stick drift. Oh, I already have stick drift. And they're just gonna be fucking lying. And it's going to be people just hating on it just because they want to see the Switch fail. Next up is Nintendo Switch 2 Emulation. Now, I have a whole video going on about that last week. I will link it somewhere probably. If not, go to my channel, subscribe while you're at it, please. Thank you. But a little TLDR, we're not emulating this day one. One user in the comments who brought up a point that I wasn't even talking about in the video and is no longer general knowledge, but I might as well say here. It was initially thought that the Switch 1 hardware and kind of all the specs around that was going to be sort of similar to the Switch 2. So with backwards compatibility and stuff, there was just going to be a Switch 1 hardware in the Switch 2. We did not know at the time backwards compatibility with the Switch 1 was essentially going to have to be emulation on the Switch 2. We thought it was going to be at a hardware level. So before we knew that, it was reasonable to think this is probably going to be having some of the same bugs and problems as before, probably going to be able to use the same methods to get into emulation. Understandable. And then like what, a week or two after the Direct, we found out that that's bullshit and they were just going to be emulating Switch 1 games on the Switch 2. So when I made that video and responding to the guy who made that comment, are you fucking dumb? That is not the general knowledge anymore. It is now maybe not well known, but it is pretty known now, and there is stuff online if you did your research for it about how they were just going to be emulating the Switch 1 on the Switch 2. So when I made that fucking video, I went into that with everybody doing a little bit of research or just having some common fucking decency to go look it up and think, oh, this isn't a hardware level backwards compatibility, so emulation isn't going to work the same. I just wanted to say that. Go watch the video if you want to hear more about Nintendo Switch 2 and emulation and all of that. All right, next up here on the docket, why is this a controversy? Why are people complaining about this? The first one I have up here, which is very recent and I have done more research on since my last video on emulation. The Nintendo EULA update, the terms of service, the EULA update about bricking your consoles. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this is an industry standard. Xbox and PlayStation do the exact same thing. We are not going to demonize Nintendo for doing the same thing that all the other consoles are doing, that all of the other companies are doing. We can dislike it and hate it, absolutely. I don't like it. I do not like that they can brick your console, but I'm not going to demonize Nintendo because they're doing the exact same thing that the other consoles are doing. And I don't want to hear, no, they don't do that. No, they don't do that. I brought the receipts, bitch. Xbox actually has this in 2 different places. The first one is the Xbox Software License Agreement, Section 2. I have the entire thing on the screen here if you want to read it, but I am mostly focusing on Section 2, Subsection B, Article 4. I think that's Paragraph 4, whatever the fuck you want to call it, where it says, Microsoft may use technical measures, including Xbox software updates, to prevent use of unauthorized accessories and unauthorized games, and to protect the technical limitations, security, and anti-piracy systems in the Xbox console, Kinect sensor, or authorized accessory. Now, you can spin it however you want, but that does say that they can take you off of the internet services, and if they wanted, that's vague enough to say that they could brick your console. I mean, protect the technical limitations and anti-piracy, that sounds like they can brick your console to me. You know, call me fucking crazy. This is also in the Microsoft Services Agreement for all Microsoft hardware and, you know, computers and stuff. First up here in Section 8, Software Licenses, Subsection B, it talks about a lot of the same stuff. What are you not allowed to do with the console? Basically, if you fuck with the system at all, you pirate any games, that's not allowed. And if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll get to Section 14, Subsection A, and what is that, Article 8? Where Subsection A is talking about specifically Xbox, with this article, Paragraph 7, saying for cheating and tampering devices. For any device that can connect to Xbox services, we may automatically check your device for unauthorized hardware or software that enables cheating or tampering in violation of the Code of Conduct or these terms, and download Xbox app software updates or configuration changes, including those that prevent you from accessing the Xbox services or from using unauthorized hardware or software that enables cheating or tampering. Like you could say with the other one that I found, I don't really know if that could technically count as bricking a console. That in definitive print just says, if you're fucking with our console or our games, we can destroy your console. Destroy. Sony has the exact same thing for the PlayStation 5 in their service agreement. In Section 2, with a big label saying restrictions, it talks about what you are not allowed to do with the console and with the software. And if you read it, it looks very similar to the Nintendo one that they just put out. And if you then scroll down to Section 6, talking about the violation of the agreement, basically, what can we do to you if you do not follow all of these rules? They say, quote, if SIE Inc. determines that you have violated this agreement's terms, SIE Inc. may itself or may procure the taking of any action to protect its interests, such as disabling access to or use of some or all system software, disabling use of this PS5 system online or offline, termination of your access to PlayStation Network, denial of any warranty, repair or other services provided for your PS5 system, implementation of automatic or mandatory updates or devices intended to discontinue unauthorized use or reliance on any other remedial efforts as reasonably necessary to prevent the use of modified or unpermitted use of system software. For anybody that doesn't understand what that means, system software especially, that means they can just kill your system. This is nothing new. The only reason I think some people didn't realize this is, one, who reads the fucking EULAs outside of something like this, and two, because these guys don't actually really brick consoles. They just IP ban most people, or server ban. What mostly happens, and what has happened to me when I first modded my Nintendo Switch, no I didn't, is if you go online and connect to their servers and they see, hey, you have some files on your system here that really shouldn't be on there, or you're doing some stuff with your system that we noticed, hey, we don't want you doing that, or you're not allowed to do that, that breaks our terms of service, we're gonna brick your console. You don't get to use our servers anymore. Fuck you. Like, that's the natural response, and I think that's gonna be the same thing here with Nintendo. They just wanted to put it in more clear writing, and I don't know exactly how the old EULA looked, but probably throw in there that they can brick the console too. Again, I don't know if that was not in there before, but I don't know. And even then, even if you get your console bricked, even if you're dumb as shit enough to emulate your console and still go onto Nintendo servers like I was when I was 16, you do realize it's just a software ban, right? It's just a software brick. It's a soft brick. The only way they could stop your Switch from working entirely is if they fucked up your motherboard somehow, which I've heard some say, oh, there's microscopic fuses in there, and they've used that so you can't downgrade your Switch. We've also found ways around that. There is actually one custom firmware, I believe it's called like Moon something. Daybreak. I was way off. But it's called Daybreak, and as long as you have the firmware files from online, you can downgrade your system. Like, we found ways around this, which means it's not a crazy concept that if you have soft bricked or soft locked your Switch, just throw something else in there. You don't have the Switch OS anymore? Oh no, throw Linux in there. That's been done before. Throw Android. I mean, it's basically an Android tablet already. You can just use the Android OS. And people have done this. This has been done. People have thrown Android. They have thrown Linux on. It's not a crazy concept. And yeah, is that a little bit sucky? Sure, obviously. You were already going into this emulating jailbreaking, expecting that this might happen. You were going into it thinking that this was a possibility. You're kind of just reaping the consequences at that point. But again, people are complaining about something that is an industry standard. An industry standard that's not even really ever upheld to the fullest extent that people really think it is. Like, people think that Nintendo is just going to start bricking consoles everywhere. I kind of doubt it, because like I said, it is written in Xbox and PlayStation that they can do it as well. And while not as many people mod it, obviously, there's still modding going on, but I mean, you never really hear about an entire console getting bricked. You hear about, obviously, you know, IP server banned, but not console brick. And even if you don't want to get IP banned, again, don't go on the servers. And there has even been some custom firmware so that you can actually go online and still bypass the servers, at least for Nintendo Switch. I don't know about Xbox or PlayStation, but there is still ways to go online without actually triggering the servers. And while it's not 100% effective, it works very well. Like, I feel like the people who are complaining about this don't do emulation. If you do emulation, this is kind of like a who really cares, because I'm just smart enough to know how to not get fucking caught. If you're going to emulate, be smart about it. If you're not going to emulate, why the fuck do you care? And the final point I have for this entire video, it's the same thing as the Switch one, and it's not a generational leap. Oh, you sweet succulent child. I shouldn't say succulent. If you are saying that this is the exact same thing as the Switch one, then you have quite literally not seen a single piece of information. You probably just saw what it looked like and then decided, oh, it looks the exact same, so it's the same thing. Like, does it look the same? Yes. And that's what we wanted. That's what everybody that's been complaining about the Switch, whether in good faith or in bad faith, has been complaining about. Like, they were trying to fix all the problems that people have been complaining about, whether in good or in bad faith, which is up to, but not limited to, 720p handheld and 1080p docked. They fixed that, so now it is 1080p handheld and up to 4K docked. They fixed the smaller Joy-Cons. They fixed the shitty online. They fixed the shitty eShop, the console storage space being too small, the console performance being shit, less major third-party scene than their competitors, the shitty kickstand and the shitty load times. They fixed all of that and more that I probably don't even remember right now. Now, there are still problems that are getting carried over, and they're adding new ones here. But acting like this is the same thing as the Switch 1 is intellectually dishonest. And also people saying that this isn't a generational leap. Oh yeah, because the PS5 and the Xbox Series X cured fucking cancer, didn't they? I forgot about that time when they went into the pool of life, the elixir of death, and they pulled out the fucking cure to AIDS. I'm so sorry, I forgot when they did that. Like, do PS5 and Xbox Series X look better than the PS4 and the Xbox One? Definitely. Generational leap? No. And is the Switch 2 breaking any new ground in graphics? No. And who was expecting them to? Because Nintendo is known for their next-gen graphics, because they're known for being at the forefront of getting into 8K gaming. What? Nintendo is definitely a major player in tech advancement, but it is not graphics-wise. Like, the Wii gave us motion controls, and has been stated to be the reason that we even have VR today. The Wii Nunchuck is the sole reason we actually have VR today, and why it was such a big proponent going into the 2000s and the 2010s. The original Switch is the only reason we actually have these PC handhelds today to even complain and compare it to. The Switch was 2017. The Steam Deck didn't come out till what, 2020, 2021? And some of these other ones around the same time. The Switch kicked that off. And the easiest thing here, while yes, they did not absolutely start gaming, as Atari did start the home console scene, really, it was Nintendo that exploded that to huge fucking numbers in the West, in Asia, everywhere with the NES. So no. Apologies. You cannot do 8K gaming on a fucking handheld, because you can do that on every other handheld nowadays. I know, it's so commonplace. But they are making it look amazing, dude. So sorry, they are only just now getting up to Generation 9 graphics. But are we going to talk about how it looks? I'd say about as good as a PS5. It looks about as good as a Series X, at least from these photos and stuff that we've been seeing. So I'm going to be honest, I don't know how much more you really wanted from this thing. I think they did pretty good here in terms of, you know, getting it up to more modern standards. Again, there's all that shit we complained about earlier. And that's kind of it. That's all I really got here. There's probably more. I am thinking now that there was the whole OLED screen situation, but I don't even feel like going back to re-record that.
The editing fuck, surrounded in darkness because I'm a horny little emo fuck right now. But you know what? No, we are making this a section, and this is actually going to be in its own section. This isn't going to be something I agree with. This is not going to be something that's misinformation. This isn't going to be a why is this a controversy, and this isn't something that I'm willing to debate. This is a what the fuck do you care? We're talking about the OLED. We are talking about the OLED. The console does not have OLED. Big fucking whoop. I'm so sorry that you didn't get your I should, whoa. 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 I'm so sorry you didn't get your segregation screen. I'm so fucking sorry. But you know what we did get instead of that? HDR. I don't think you heard me. We got HDR. We got better lighting. We got VRR. And for any of the troglodytes in here, that's variable refresh rate. Also for the troglodytes, up to 120 frames. Your oh-so-precious Steam Deck can only get up to 90 on an OLED. And while I'm warming up to PC handhelds and Steam Deck users are really pissing me off.
Oh, it's not an OLED! It's not an OLED! Ah! I knew when my mom came home and she wasn't an OLED. And my dad was gonna leave.
Like, the OLED is the reason you're not getting the console. That can be one of many reasons. If that's your only reason, it's not an OLED. I'm never getting Nintendo. Get the fuck out of here. Again, we're getting HDR. We're getting VRR up to 120 frames. Like, what? oh, I'm so sorry you're not getting the blackest black. I'm so sorry you're not getting the whitest white. Especially when the people who are bitching and complaining were either never going to get the console or would get the console and not use it and leave it in the fucking dock, so they don't even care anyway, whether it was going to be OLED or fucking not. Just bitching to bitch.
But if you guys can think of any other, controversies that have been going around with the Nintendo Switch 2 that I have forgotten, or maybe you have your own opinions on some of these, please throw them in the comments. And again, with almost all of these points that I've brought up, I don't agree with all of them. I don't like the upgrade packs. I don't like that Nintendo can brick systems. I don't like that that the GameChat screen share is only 15 FPS. But I do think it is way overblown, a lot of it misinformation, and people just kind of needing to chill the fuck out a little. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. To all the haters in the comments, hi, you're not looking at me right now because you didn't make it to this point. But honestly, even if you are a hater, please do leave a comment. I actually am glad that you're here as well, because you make me want to make sure that my videos are a little more better. I passed English, but I've got some more videos coming up. I just put out my anime video a few days ago, so please go check that out if you're interested in what I'm watching this season. And I've got a few more videos coming up. Clair Obscure will be the next video. I will be having one going over Clair Obscure Expedition 33 and my thoughts. Love the game, by the way. There's a TLDR. I spoiled the whole video. I love the game. But that'll be coming out soon, so you can check that out and subscribe, like, whatever, so you can stay up to date on all the other videos I have coming out. If you want to check me out on stream, we are going to be playing Doom the Dark Ages for a little bit and then going back into the God of War games and then doing a bunch of other stuff this summer. Death Stranding 2, the Nintendo Switch 2 and all that, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Shadow Labyrinth, yada, 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 the list goes on. So if you want, you can check that out here on my YouTube, or you can check me out over on Twitch, Kick, or TikTok. All links are going to be down in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next video or on stream. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Peace.